Imagine that you are at a party, a huge party, a major blowout of a party being held for you, a party in your honor. And imagine that you walk up to one of the guests at the party and you punch him in the face. And imagine that you walk up to another guest and you kick him in the gut. And then you walk up to another guest and you whack him upside the head. Sounds pretty far-fetched, doesn't it? Happens every day. My name is Pat Breslin, and today I'm going to talk to you about quitting smoking. I'm going to talk about three things. First, I'm going to describe what my attitude toward smoking used to be. Then I'm going to tell you about an event that changed it. And finally, I'm going to recommend an attitude toward dealing with your relationship to the world. So to begin, for most of my life, I had pretty much of an anti-smoking attitude, and not because the Surgeon General said that if you smoke, your nose will fall off and your ears will turn purple and marigolds will sprout from your belly button. I just like smoking for purely practical reasons. It stinks. It burns holes in things and starts fires. It gave my mom a weak heart. Gave my dad mouth cancer. Gave lung cancer to one of my cousins and two of my uncles, and progressive lung disease to several more. So for a very long time, I regarded smoking as a really dumb activity engaged in by otherwise intelligent people. And now that I've told you what my attitude toward smoking used to be, I'm going to tell you how it changed. I had a brother, an older brother, half-brother really, but he was still my brother. His name was Charlie Breslin. He was about my height, had more hair, less insulation, and Charlie was a smoker. Smoked for most of his adult life. He managed to quit for about 5 years, which was a really big accomplishment. Then he smoked one cigarette and the full nicotine addiction kicked right back in like a tidal wave, and he was hooked for the rest of his life. So he resigned himself to being a smoker for the rest of his days. Even when he came down with emphysema, he still kept smoking. And interestingly enough, being a smoker with emphysema did not really slow him down. In the community where he lived, just north of Philadelphia, he was still very active, very busy, still the man about town, very friendly. Everybody liked him. But he did start becoming susceptible to lung infections. 3 times in 4 years, he was hospitalized with pneumonia. The last visit was 2 months long. When he got home, he had to be hooked up to oxygen 24 hours a day. He had oxygen tanks and little plastic tubes running all over the house. He called me after he'd been home for a spell. We chatted on the phone for 10 minutes, and then he was out of breath from talking and he had to hang up. The simple act of talking for 10 minutes left him puffing and panting and wheezing the way I would after running for 5 miles. That was the last time we spoke. A couple weeks later, I got a message to call his house. I called, spoke to one of his sons, Michael. We chatted for a second. He handed off the phone to his youngest brother, Sean. Sean told me that in the evening before, he'd been walking through the house when he heard a sound come out of Charlie's bedroom. He went in the bedroom and saw Charlie kneeling on the floor with a gun in his hand and a hole in his head. Sean rushed down and wrapped his arms around his father. Charlie bled to death in his son's arms. It was on hearing that news that my attitude toward smoking changed. I no longer regarded smoking as a really dumb activity engaged in by otherwise intelligent people. Instead, I came to regard smoking as an insidiously evil and monstrously stupid way to commit slow suicide. As a college educator, I've had students say to me, "Whoa, sorry to hear about your brother. But you know what? Tobacco is legal, and I'm an adult. And I've got the lawful right to put legal substances in my body if I want to. I mean, it's my life, right?" No. Your life does not belong entirely to you, which brings me to my next point. Unless you're living alone in a cave in the Himalayas, your life does not belong entirely to you. Part of your life belongs to every person who cares about you, every person you care about, everybody you love, and everybody who loves you. And if you don't think that's true, picture what would happen if today you got killed in a car crash. How many people would mourn? How many people would be crying for days? How many people would be brokenhearted? How many people would show up at that party to celebrate your life, your funeral? And how many people would be hurting as badly as if they'd been punched in the face, kicked in the gut, and whacked upside the head? Personally, I would rather have been punched in the face, kicked in the gut, and whacked upside the head, rather than lose my brother to his own hand because of his refusal, not inability, refusal, to quit smoking again and to stay quit. 46 million Americans have quit smoking. If they can do it, anybody can. And people have said to me, wait a minute, you've never smoked a cigarette in your life. You have no idea how tough it is to find the motivation to quit. Yeah? Bull. If I took that gun and held it to your head and said, you're going to quit smoking now, you would have no trouble finding the motivation. Because if you smoke, that gun is pointed at you right now. You aim it every time you light one up. And every time you light one up, you ignore the relationship you have with everybody else in your life. We're connected to each other in a most intimate level. Whether you look at it in the context of sociology, psychology, culture, spirituality, or nuclear physics, we are all connected together. When you raise your life up, when you make your life a good place, you raise up the lives of all the people in your life. When you damage your health, when you damage your lungs, when you damage your heart with smoking, you damage everybody who cares about you. And you don't have that right. When you light up a cigarette and you inhale the more than 4,000 identified poisonous compounds in tobacco, you hurt everybody who cares about you. You do not have that right. You have it wrong. What you do to your life, what you do for your life, what you do with your life affects everyone in your life. If it's your goal to hurt everyone in your life, why not be more direct about it? Walk up to the person you love the most and punch them in the face as hard as you can. Because if you smoke, you're doing the equivalent of that anyway. So to sum up, today I've told you what my attitude towards smoking used to be. Then I told you about an event that changed it. And then I pointed out that we are all connected together. If you hurt your loved ones, by hurting yourself, you hurt all of us at the same time. So if you smoke, for God's sake, quit. Thank you for listening.